You're watching KRDO News Channel 13, where the news comes first. Your news starts right now.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Josh Helmuth.
And I'm Bryn Carmen.
Now, we have breaking news this half hour. Colorado Springs police, they've arrested a man accused of forcing women into prostitution while being held against their will. At this hour, police believe there are more victims and they're asking for your help.
53-year-old David O'Neill Roberts was arrested by police Friday after they were contacted by 3 sexual assault and human trafficking victims, all with similar stories. Roberts is in the El Paso County Jail right now with several charges, including human trafficking, sexual assault, and false imprisonment. Investigative reporter Chelsea Brensel sat down with the lead investigator on this case, who is now pleading with the public for answers. Chelsea.
The arrest affidavit says the suspect, David O'Neill Roberts, held a girl and 2 women against their will while forcing them to be sexually assaulted by several men, and that Roberts threatened to kill them if they wanted to leave. Now, the Metro Vice Unit here of the Colorado Springs Police Department says that this investigation began in January of this year after a woman alerted police of a violent sexually assault at the Super 8 Motel on Peterson Road. A few weeks later, another victim came forward about a similar allegations at an apartment off of East Uinta Street, and then a third victim came forward in July. The 3 victims identified by police range from the ages of 17 to 38, and police fear there may be more out there.
And ultimately, out of that arrest, we now are looking to the public and believe that we may have additional victims, maybe some witnesses, maybe people with knowledge of Mr. Roberts' activity. We are looking to speak with anybody out in our community that either has been a victim, maybe has some information on his activities over the last year and a half, because that's about the time frame that we're looking at right now for these cases.
If you have any information about Roberts, please contact the police department here at Colorado Springs immediately. They say that even the smallest tip can help them find other victims and ensure that this man stays off the streets. We're live in Colorado Springs. Chelsea Brensel, KRDO News Channel 13.
All right, thanks for the update, Chelsea. Switching over to weather now, here's a live look right now outside of the Steel City down in Pueblo. Storm Tracker 13 meteorologist Chris Larson is with us right now. Chris, a great start to the day. Is it going to stay this way?
Looks like we're going to see an almost perfect afternoon. There's an outside chance over the Palmer Divide that we could get that isolated thunderstorm pops up this afternoon. Let's go ahead and take that live look from our studios here at Steve's Paint Supply. And you can see these are sort of flat top cumulus clouds, pretty humble, if you will, out there this afternoon. But what a gorgeous sky that we have here in southern Colorado. Doppler radar is quiet at this hour, and we're quiet pretty much across the entire state of Colorado. And looking at our current conditions, into the low 90s in Pueblo, 85 Walsenburg, mid 80s here around Colorado Springs, 85 right now in Lamar. Over the next couple of hours, we should warm up a couple of degrees into the mid 90s out across the plains, low 90s here in Colorado Springs, 92 Canyon City. And again, late this afternoon, it's possible that we see an isolated shower across the Palmer Divide and maybe areas out into the southeastern plains. But our chances for afternoon showers and thunderstorms will be ramping up as we go towards the weekend, Friday and Saturday. We'll take a look at our extended forecast coming up in a few minutes.
Chris, thank you. Now to the latest COVID-19 news. Updated case numbers are in, and new cases are still coming in at a steady rate. We saw 12 new cases in Pueblo, 5 more in Teller County, and 3 more in Fremont County. But the hot spot continues to be El Paso County, which reported another 115 new cases. One caveat to that is due to a computer glitch, part of that total is made up of cases that should have been reported a day earlier. A warning from the Fremont County Health Department: anyone who has gone out with the Royal Gorge Rafting Company or the Zipline Tours may have been exposed to COVID-19. The health department says the exposure would have been between July 13th and July 19th. Owners say the staff have been following social distancing guidelines and wearing masks. No employees have tested positive so far. Whitewater Bar and Grill is also listed as a possible exposure site. Free testing is available at the County Health Department today from 8:30 to 11:30, so that just wrapped up. There's also testing on Tuesdays and Wednesdays in the future if you need to go get checked out.
Governor Jared Polis is addressing school safety concerns here in Colorado. The start of school is just weeks away, and there's a lot of anxiety for both parents and teachers. Governor Polis acknowledged that yesterday, saying teachers and staff should not have to just wing it. but should instead be able to rely on clear procedures from state and local health officials.
That the other piece that we will be handing to school districts and schools is the outbreak handbook. Essentially, this is what you go to when somebody has coronavirus, right? You're the school principal. In the past, all you've dealt with was probably lice and strep.
Governor Polis also suggested that resources like the Boys and Girls Club should be prepared to help out families whose parents need to go back to work in the event school is held remotely. CNC Breakfast and Korean Kitchen in Castle Rock is closed for good. If you remember, they decided to open on Mother's Day, the restaurant very full, defying the governor's order to remain closed at the time. Shortly after that, they were forced to close for 30 days. CNC's owners say a lack of sales and staffing shortages are to blame for the shutdown, with the current unemployment payments incentivizing some workers not to come back to work. Their sister location in Colorado Springs will stay open.
As for other local businesses that are worried about a rollback on variance permissions, there is some hopeful news. Many are breathing a little easier today after some clarification from state and county officials. If a rollback were to occur because of rising COVID-19 cases, the state would first look to rein in businesses that can serve 100 to 175 customers at a time. For businesses that fall under that threshold, which is mostly in the restaurant and retail industries, that clarification came as a huge relief.
And that's great news for our industry. We've taken quite a beating here lately. To be able to stay open is important for us.
That being said, health officials reminded us all that this talk of losing variances shows that we're still moving in the wrong direction. The county health department is planning with the state health department this week and hopes to have more answers about what happens next by Friday. It's Small Business Week in the Pikes Peak region. For the past 4 years, the event has brought in thousands of people for their food truck cook-off. But like most things during this pandemic, things are looking a lot different this year. News Channel 13's Mia Villanueva is live with how you can still support local businesses despite all of the changes. Mia.
The event kicking off this week in place of the food truck cook-off is called License to Eat, and just like in years past, it's all about supporting local business owners. No businesses have been spared throughout this pandemic.
COVID has changed our world, and a lot of businesses have been really hard hit by this. So we were kind of wrestling with, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to figure this out?
Small Business Week in Pikes Peak is helping give those businesses a chance to get up on their feet through their License to Eat event.
You can use this coupon at each truck.
The owner of Go Fish Food Truck says now more than ever, they need the support.
Small business owners are usually the ones working in their business. Just think about that before going to big corporate places.
After some of their most lucrative events, like the Air Force graduation canceled amid COVID-19 concerns, Christina says they've had to pivot their business model.
Many of us have kept busy with going into neighborhoods that have replaced our bigger events and still serving at breweries and supporting them.
And like all other businesses, take extra safety precautions in order to stay open.
Make sure that our hands are being washed, make sure that we're being clean. We wear the masks, the gloves, and all those mandates that we need to do.
But fortunately, one thing has been on their side.
We're definitely designed for that grab and go, and it's a safe option. You don't even have to open a door. Everything is outside.
To find out where local food trucks, including Go Fish, will be throughout the week, head over to our website, krgo.com. Reporting live, Mia Villanueva, KRGO News Channel 13.
All right, thanks, Mia. Now, if you're experiencing food insecurity during these tough times, Mount Carmel Veteran Service Center is here to help out with another drive-through free food giveaway on Friday. Colorado Springs Food Rescue and Karen Share Food Bank of Southern Colorado are providing the food donations, and the Vets to Vets organizations volunteering their time. The drive-through will be in the upper parking lot of the Mount Carmel Veteran Service Center. It's at 530 Communication Circle on the west side of the Springs, just off 8th Street. Another free food giveaway is planned for Friday, August 21st. Despite layoffs and job scarcity, rent prices are on the rise in Colorado Springs. It's a stark contrast to other areas nearby, even Denver, where rent's actually going down a little bit. Ron Throop is a professor of real estate at the University of Denver. He says that between April and June, rent has gone up $27 per unit in the Springs. Denver, it's been exactly the opposite, dropping $29 per unit. Throop says this past quarter, there were a net 645 new occupants in the Springs with only 11 new units built. He doesn't think that demand will let up anytime soon.
even if we have rents pulled back, they likely wouldn't be very large. And people have this idea that rents will fall a lot. That doesn't happen because people need a place to live regardless.
Says they've seen a lot of in-state movement recently, specifically people moving out of Denver and into surrounding areas. He says if that were to happen in the Springs, it may reduce rent prices, but not by much.
While many of the top cycling races in the state have been canceled due to COVID-19, a new world-class race, Pikes Peak, is expected to go on as planned. Pikes Peak Apex is a mountain bike competition in Colorado Springs. Roughly 300 cyclists will race at Pikes Peak over 4 days in September. Permits are already in place, and the event will be held within state and local COVID guidelines from September 24th through the 27th, less than 2 months from now.